Well, it won't be the year of Star Citizen. 2024 is looking to be one of the best we've seen so far. The year of Star Citizen is reserved for the year that it finally launches. But any year that we see incredible progress towards the final goal can be considered a great year. Hi, I'm Leaf, and let's talk 2024. You may have seen a lot of hype from other Star Citizen creators about 2024. A lot of that hype for Star Citizen isn't just about the things that they've announced at CitizenCon, it's how fast we're seeing those things come to the game, with even small little updates that they don't even bother to tell us that they're throwing in. Star Citizen has had a lot of trouble with feature creep and getting things done in a timely manner over the years. Some features recently, though, are meeting and exceeding our expectations of implementation times, boding well for the future of the game. I'll get to some of those features in just a moment. The reason for this change is a significant shift in how CIG handles patches. In the past, we've received quarterly patches in waves, starting with the Evocate test group, then expanding to the test universe, and finally the live servers. This was the standard procedure for years. However, CIG has decided to abandon this cadence and start releasing patches when they're ready. This is relevant because development felt slower as developers were reassigned to Squadron 42 to complete it, resulting in slim and underwhelming quarterly patches. Now that Squadron 42 is in the polishing phase, many developers have returned to Star Citizen development, bringing with them the updates that they were refining for Squadron 42. However, this is precisely why I remain a little bit cautious. While these dump features are already complete, the other features specific to Star Citizen have yet to demonstrate increased progress timelines. The latter half of 2024, in my opinion, will provide a better indication of Star Citizen's true progress. While we are all excited, I do want people to understand that this doesn't mean we can expect the game for a few years still. Now that said, I think our positivity is quite warranted. Let's take a look at patch 323 to give you a look as to why we're getting all amped up and excited. Patch 323 introduces advancements to so many different things like EVA system, an interaction system overhaul, distribution centers, master modes, FPS improvements, HUD improvements, the new Starmap, character customization, freight elevators, and mission updates, and even the holy grail, our first step into server meshing, the replication layer. I'm going to take a moment to go over some of them and why I'm personally excited for these changes, because that's why you click the video, to talk about the hype of Star Citizen. EVA Tier 2 is obviously a massive one. Star Citizen has been a little bit clunky when it comes to floating around in space. Granted, it's still miles ahead of just about every single space game out there, since you can even just do it in the first place, but it did need smoothing. While it may have been a bit more realistic when you're floating around, the new system looks way cooler and is a lot more practical. While it gives a smoother entry into gravity wells and vice versa, the biggest change I think we'll feel is the introduction of limited EVA fuel and encouragement of zero-G push-pull and climbing along walls, and the multi-tools tractor beam usage. This will fundamentally change the EVA experience by making out-of-ship endeavors feel dangerous, leaning into that think before you act kind of gameplay that I think we all love Star Citizen for. The new interaction system is a welcome one, by the way. I was worried that they might remove the hold F to interact functionality because, in my opinion, it really helped ground the player in the world by making your head feel like it's not attached to your shoulders like every single other first-person game does. But that is still there, but with a nicer coat of paint and some quality of life features to favorite certain actions when you press the F wheel, like picking up a gun rather than inspecting it. And the new interaction wheel is definitely less fidgety, so it's not going to be frustrating to grab stuff like loot. And speaking of loot, the new looting system will be huge. This thing sucked in the heat of battle. Distribution centers are going to be massive, both on a literal scale and an impact on gameplay. This honestly deserves its own video, so if I do make one, make sure you're subscribed to see it. Or go watch someone else's video on it, whatever. I'm not your dad. You know I love it when you treat me like shit. What I love about this area is that it gives a range of activities, including aggressive missions, cargo missions, stealth missions, standard box missions, access to missions and unique items determined by the reputation system, and you know there's going to be players camping out and trying to gank everyone, which is going to allow a lot of bounties to be had at distribution centers. Another massive change is going to be in the new flight modes coming, SCM and navigation. This is going to force players to think about their engagements. Like, massive is an understatement. I highly recommend you go listen to my 2-minute rant I had on stream the other day. It is on my second channel. I'll put the video up right up there. But I really think SEM and navigation, these master modes in general, are good for the game. Next, I have to mention the star map, and of course the mini map beside that, but the star map. When I introduce new players to the game, and I do it quite often, if you are subscribed to my channel, you've seen those videos, but one of the first things I have to do is teach these players how to use the star map because it's so fidgety. It's really just not a good experience. But with this new star map, I feel like I can skip the 30-minute tutorial of how to use the star map properly in Star Citizen, and they'll just be able to figure it out intuitively. So it's massive for onboarding new players. Of course, people are loving the new character customization options coming in. And I think the last one I really want to touch on is freight elevators. Star Citizen, if you don't know the game, is all about making everything physical. I want to keep you out of menus as much as possible. That leads them into diegetic menu design. These menus feel like they're actually a part of your world. Freight elevators take that one step further by making that if you want to pull out anything from your inventory, you don't drag and drop anymore. You have to call it up and then physically move it to your ship or wherever it needs to go. Now, I skipped a few things, and by a few things I mean I skipped a lot, but this wasn't a 3.23 update. The main point here is the sheer volume of updates heading our way and why we're excited about them. And that's a big point of it. But that brings me to looking forward to 2024. There are several exciting things to look forward to in the development of Star Citizen. One of the major features that I'm looking forward to, I think all of us are looking forward to, is server meshing, which the team seems highly confident in. Server meshing is going to greatly enhance the multiplayer experience and allow for more seamless and immersive gameplay environment overall. Another significant thing that we know they've started on in 2024, and I hope to see come to fruition near the end of it, is base building. Base building is expected to be a core feature that, in my opinion, will bring the game closer to a releasable state. While there are already many gameplay loops in place, the addition of base building will introduce a sense of permanence and completeness to the game world. You have something to defend, therefore you have a reason to play. Hey there, Editor Leaf. As I was finishing off this video, news just came out that Todd Pappy, the guy I showed at the beginning of this video, and the one that was working on base building, has just left CIG. We have no other information on why or what happened there, but obviously the first initial thought is to think negatively about this. I know this video is about positivity, but that's a difficult one to navigate on how I feel about it. So I don't have feelings on it yet. If you do have feelings about Todd Pappy leaving the company, let me know down below on what you think it might imply. But overall, I'm going to stay positive, so let's get back to Positive Leaf. Now, these upcoming features, along with the continuous progress seen so far in development, give reason for optimism and excitement for the future of Star Citizen. Now, another massive bit of reasoning that I have to think that things are on the move, and this is a good sign, is that CIG have been releasing updates at irregular periods as compared to before. They used to release quarterly patches that they would have to make stable enough for players to use each time. This, of course, used a lot of resources to make the build into a playable state, causing a lot of time to be spent on systems that will eventually change down the road, which in my opinion feels like wasted development time. And I'm sure the devs thought that a few times over as well. Now with patches like 3.23, they've opted to just make massive dumps with systems that are as close to what they will be on release. This indicates a stronger focus on the end game rather than retaining players through regular updates. I think that's the massive takeaway we have to look at here. As I said before, for me to continue being hyped through 2024, we will need to see the same level of success that they've shown so far at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. Not only do they need to implement things from Squadron 42 that are already finished features, but they need to continue popping in those little things that will show and convince us that the extra dev power being brought back to Star Citizen is actually making a difference, and that this isn't just a sudden burst of Squadron 42 features that eventually dries up. So I want to ask you, do you think Star Citizen development will continue with this pace of progress, or do you think it's just going to be a quick little burst and then slow down again? Now, I recently broke down why no game can do what Star Citizen does. If you want to check it out, it's right here, or click the one on the right that YouTube has chosen for you. Take a risk. Why not?